Hey guys, hope you're doing well. In this video we're going to be taking a look at the One Car Stereo AI box, their new version with HDMI out. Now we've looked at some of their products on the channel previously and they're very handy devices if you want to watch some streaming services in your Taycan. So highly recommended, and you may have seen those videos, but there is a new version out. So we're going to be taking a look how it compares to their older devices and if you should consider purchasing one. So taking a look at the device itself, it is a very solid little device. In fact, the quality of this one seems to have been leveled up from the previous version that we looked at. It is very nicely finished and it has a good weight in the hand. The connectivity options are slightly different on this version. So of course we have the USB-C for connectivity to your car, and behind this rubber flap here we have the TF slot, as they call it, which is an SD card slot so you can put your own media in, and also space for a SIM card, a data SIM. So that means you can directly stream to the device without having to tether it to your phone or connect it to a Wi-Fi network. But the big change with this version is this port here, which is the HDMI out port, which is a really nice little addition. That means with this device you can connect it to anything that has a HDMI in and use it to stream and watch your media on. So it's a really nice little addition to this device. The previous one was really good, and this is going to take it to the next level. So good thinking from the guys at One Car Stereo on this. In terms of the memory on the device, it says here that it is an 8 gig device, 8 gig of RAM with 128 gig of storage. So some pretty decent specs there for such a small box. One other thing to note is this device here does run on Android 13. Now you do see this running on a lot of similar devices because it is tried, tested, very reliable, pretty lightweight, and does what it needs to do. But I believe support for this OS is stopping very, very shortly from Google, and who knows, you may see an upgrade to a newer version at some point in the future. So just something to note on this. Now I have their previous device here. We've looked at this one on the channel before, and just further to the comments that I raised earlier when I said that the quality of the newer one seems to be better just in terms of the build. So this is the old version, yeah, good enough, but it's a little bit plasticky maybe, but it does get the job done. In terms of the ports, maybe the finish just isn't quite as good there. And of course this is the new version, smaller, and it's just a much nicer finish. I think they've just considered the overall design a little bit better, and it just feels like a higher quality product. So quite excited to connect this and see how it fires up. But good work on the incremental product improvements, much higher quality. Of course the only issue is it doesn't quite fill the hole in the Taycan as well as the previous one. So let's take a look at that now. That's the previous one. So obviously, you know, they weren't really considering this when they designed it, and it was just a bit of luck, to be fair. But yeah, it's smaller, more compact, and just feels like a more solid quality device. In terms of connectivity with this device, it is USB-C to USB-C. The Taycan has only USB-C ports for input under this little console here. Of course, if you have USB-A ports in your car, the classic one, just simply use a USB-C to USB-A cable, which of course this device comes with. And we simply connect it to those USB-C inputs down there. We've got the unit connected there, and not only do you get some status lights to let you know that the device is powered on, you also get these funky LEDs around the rim of the device there, which is pretty good, lets you know that it is of course running okay. Back to the menu here, and if you have Android Auto running, then Apple CarPlay will be grayed out on the Taycan. You can't run both at the same time. Don't have Android Auto connected at this moment, so if we click Apple CarPlay, we see new device detected. So start Apple CarPlay. Yes, this should take us into Apple CarPlay, and hopefully we should get to see the device. So restart to calibrate the screen. The device will reboot, and now we see the device is restarted to calibrate the screen, so it fills the whole screen real estate up. And there we are connected. Now the first thing we're going to have to do is get this on to a Wi-Fi network, so that should be a pretty straightforward process. Let's take a look at the home screen and the navigation of the system. And I have to say, I am thoroughly impressed with this aspect of the system. It is very, very responsive, even more so than Porsche's own PCM system, which is notoriously slow and laggy. Of course, whenever we make contact with the screen, we get our little bubble there. So if I click that and then click that, we should be able to make this full screen here. And then just take a look at how snappy and quick that is. It is really, really impressive. So they've done a fantastic job here, and that Qualcomm processor really doing its thing here. If I go back to the home screen, it should be pretty instantaneous. Down here we've got the little app icons to get access to our range of applications. And if you have any familiarity at all with the Android OS, you should get along just fine with this. So if I open up an Internet Explorer there, that was super quick and super snappy. Let's just do here a quick search. Again, really snappy. Open that up, instant load of that screen there. We can see what applications we've got open here. I can clear all the applications just as you would usual Android, and that let's try, I think, for a bit of fun here, the voice capability and see how well that works. Open YouTube.
Opening web page.
Well, that worked brilliantly, so really good job on that. Play YouTube, Matthew Alder, Break My Stride.
It looks like you're not signed in to the YouTube app yet. Once you sign in, try asking again. Let's see if we can fire up a quick video. Again, pretty quick. That's not too bad at all.
Hey guys, hope you're doing well. If you've been sat on the fence for some time,
and that's it, full screen, and that is running really well. I recommend this channel if you haven't seen it already for obvious reasons. Right, so we've got this stream on the go here, a YouTube video, and it is having absolutely no issues at all playing that back. You could quite happily watch that streaming perfectly, no buffering, no jitter. Now, of course, you need to have a stable wireless connection of sorts. And how does this connect? Well, it will connect to any Wi-Fi system it can see, be that a traditional WLAN network, or also mobile phone presenting a hotspot for tethered capability. But of course, that is then dependent on your signal that you have. So as long as you have solid, stable connection to the internet, you'll have no issues streaming content at absolutely perfect resolution on this system. And it's just so snappy and quick. I'm just very impressed with how easy it is to navigate around and how snappy. We've of course got a little button there. We can go straight back to the home screen. That's instantaneous. We even get a little now playing icon there to show us what video or music stream is currently active on the system. We can add some shortcuts here, for example, the settings there. So quick, so snappy. So I would absolutely be looking at this model over any of the previous versions. Now, one thing that isn't very clear to me with this version, if I come over here, is of course we have the HDMI out. All fine and dandy, which is great. So you can connect this to anything that has a HDMI in and present this screen to that HDMI in on whatever device you're sending it to. But of course, how do you then interact with the device? Because this screen here is obviously a touch screen and we're connected via USB-C. So we can interact with the system without any issues. But of course, if you've got this presented to a HDMI screen, HDMI doesn't support any input from a touch screen. It's output only, right? So how does that work? So I'm not sure what this does in terms of being able to interact with it, or you just took it up to an extra screen and off you go. Now, of course, you can effectively install remote software onto an Android system and connect to that remote software and drive it potentially via your mobile phone. But of course, that sounds like a bit of a long-winded solution to interact with that HDMI input. So that's one area that I'm not completely clear on, but it is a nice option to be able to connect it to any HDMI output on the system. And maybe the One Car Stereo guys can chime in the comments on this once I've uploaded the video. But overall, a really, really good little device here. I was really impressed there with the voice activation and its ability to interact with the system using a voice command. So just taking a quick look here at this, does disappear a bit too quickly, that. This little array of icons here. This is the home screen, takes us right back to the home screen. If I click this here, this gives us the option to navigate through our apps. This kind of does the same as well. So if I click this here, that kind of seems to do the same thing as well. If we tap another app here, we can use the split screen capability. So that is a pretty impressive little feature. Again, click here, and then this is to close said app. And then this here, if I go back, is going to take us to our main navigation system. So this is a really wonderful system. It presents you with a much better option, I even think, than the Porsche PCM system, because it's just so snappy, so quick, good voice interaction, and you can pretty much do anything you want in this iteration of Android running through CarPlay, which is a bit of a funny thing to say, but it really is. It does seem like a wonderful device, and of course you are going to get updates and refreshes to this as and when they are available in terms of that software. So this does seem like a really good device. Really impressed with the responsiveness, the snappiness of the system, and just how much you can do on it. If you can install it in Android, you can run it on this box. So essentially, the sky is the limit. So really big thanks to the guys at One Car Stereo for sending this device over to have a look at, to have a review at. I will put a link for this device in the description, so feel free to click on that if you want to purchase the device with a bit of a discount, and that will be a really good way to get your hands on one of these versus just a straight up buy. So that your assistance there would be massively appreciated. Hope that helped. This is a massive iteration over the previous version, so these guys are really doing their homework and really upping the game with each new product they bring to the market, and I think it represents pretty good value. That's it for this one. Do stay safe, stay well. See you on the next one, and bye for now.